Lotus Emira is by far Lotus's best attempt at appealing to the widest audience possible. They've split the Emira into two personalities. Remember this? That's the default, a 6-speed manual and a supercharged V6. But if you've got PTSD from your Elise and want to drive a Lotus every day, then this, the Emira Turbo with an 8-speed dual clutch gearbox, just might be for you. But my question is, can it pull off the exotic sports car look without any of the exotic car downsides? Let's go drive. And here in 2025, there aren't actually too many. Most of them have to do just with getting in and out of the car. But before we do anything, we're gonna do a launch because I have not done a launch in this car yet. And supercars are all about the numbers, 0 to 60 and stuff like that. Left foot on the brake, traction's already off, full throttle. Wow, that was violent. A little bit of wheel hop. All the weight's over the rear axle, so much grip. 0 to 60 in about 3.5 seconds. This 4-cylinder, of course, is a 2-liter AMG engine. It's a turbocharged 4-cylinder, making 400 horsepower and 354 pound-feet of torque. There's no supercharger whine here. Even just looking in the rear view at the engine bay, where the engine is behind you, there's just a big plastic engine cover. The V6 car immediately was more special to drive. That being said, you get some exhaust crackles. It's the best. I mean, when I drove the Maserati MC20 and the turbocharged V6 and the Nettuno engine, this is almost louder than that car. It's got a bit of a point to prove. It's so ridiculous. I could do that all day long. A bunch of turbo noise. That 354 pound-feet of torque feels more substantial than the V6. It's a typical slingshot feeling. I was worried that it would just immediately kick down 2-3 gears the second you give it any little bit of throttle input, right? Because I want an engine like this and a transmission to work together to just give me that build of boost and that slingshot feeling of the torque within a gear. So there, actually, it did downshift to like 4,000, which would be good in the V6 car because most of the power is up top. But here in the inline 4 car, the torque is down low. So let's stay low. Let's match where the engine wants to be. And for the most part, especially if you're around town, you're not driving too aggressively, it will do that. And it'll stay at 2,500 RPM and just use the torque of the turbo. I love that. It's fun playing with a turbocharged engine like that. Oh my God. The grip in the back. There's not quite as much confidence here as the sport trimmed car. This one has the driver's pack, which I believe they all get, but this one's been equipped with the touring suspension and the Goodyear Eagle F1 tires versus the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S or 5S, I believe it was. They may have even been Cup 2s. Slightly different damper tuning here, and then you get stiffer spring rates. Up here it feels great. I would prefer the Michelins, but the amount of grip, 400 horsepower, this chassis, it is more than enough on a road like this. I mean, this car feels like nothing else I've driven in the last few years. As far as a new vehicle experience, there's nothing that feels like this. The steering, of course, still hydraulic power steering. At low speeds, it feels like there's no assist. I know there is, but everything is coming through the steering. Every little bit of camber change in the road, giving me more giving me more effort through the steering. As cliche as it sounds, it feels like just an extension of my body. Combine that with a car that's slightly lighter than the V6 car and incredibly balanced, you get something that just makes you want to push it further and further. Now, the dual clutch tuning here, Lotus tunes this transmission specifically for this car. It is not just directly stolen from the AMG factory. That's how I imagine these things take place. We need that. We cannot finish the project without it. That's not a British accent at all, but you get what I'm saying. It is tuned specifically by Lotus for this car, and the new SE model, which is not what I'm driving today, they've apparently tuned the transmission a little bit differently to create a smoother, but also, when you're really giving her hell, a snappier experience. This is a little bit slower to respond than what I've experienced in other AMG products with this same engine. A GLA 45 AMG, CLA 45 AMG, those cars, they feel snappier than this when you're pushing it quick. Like, that's your delay. Tug, shift. Tug, nope, tug, shift. The upshifts are awesome. The upshifts are incredibly quick, snappy, not quite PDK. It's the blip that doesn't upset the car that is most important. It nails that, and it nails the upshifts. Just, I wish it was a little bit more responsive. I think the best part of the automatic, the dual clutch, is just how quickly it shifts and how close the ratios are. And because of that, the minimization of turbo lag here is so prominent. I mean, this engine is fun to play around, like I said, in the mid-range, just building boost and feeling that torque and feeling like at any moment, the rear end could just absolutely give you a real bad day. But at the same time, when you've got the grip, when you've got the confidence, you can have load in the tires and just snap off gear changes and not upset the car. I'd actually feel comfortable putting someone behind the wheel who's never driven a mid-engine car. In the manual cars, the reward is in learning how to drive it methodically, as to not upset the weight balance and send you spinning. In that sense, this one is softer around the edges, and with the touring suspension, able to take bumps without much thought. I mean, the thing is so fast. It's torque heavy, but I still want to rev it out, mostly because at low RPMs, the engine doesn't sound the greatest. It's just when you get those turbo noises, that's your payoff. Okay, so Lotus has not managed to screw with the Lotus Emira too much while giving it this 8-speed DCT, but how does it drive out in traffic? I'm here in LA, and that is the real question. If you're going with this automatic transmission, you better be dailying it. You best be dailying it, they said. Let's go find out. Now, before I break some bad news to you guys and show you how deeply flawed the Emira really is, can we just stop and look at this car? It's gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's perfect. This one's spec'd in magma red. Appearance-wise, curb appeal, presence, the Emira is punching so far above its price point, which we'll get into a second, but let's go inside. Easy to open the door. No fancy stuff going here. This one's been spec'd with a tan interior. You've got this tub here, aluminum tub. It's fairly easy to get in and out. It is an incredibly low car, no nose lift or anything like that. The seats are great. Tan leather interior here, Napa leather. They're a little bit boxy. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I cannot put this lumbar in the seat any further. So it has a tendency to push into my back a little bit more than I would like, even at the lowest setting. So if you like lumbar, you're going to love the Lotus Emira, but it fires up, no drama. We've got two cup holders here, which because I'm not shifting, they don't get in the way. You have a little bit of storage space there, and actually quite a bit of storage space behind the seats here, which makes up for the fact, a little bit, that this does not have a frunk like a Porsche Cayman would have. When you go to change gears in this car, however, when you want to move the car, it's a little bit of a pain. So to go into drive, I click it down once, and that gets me just into neutral, and then I click it again to get me into first. And you can see, even I clicked it, I had time to move the camera from here to here, and then it was just turning into first gear, shifting into first gear. So it's not the quickest, and if I want to go to reverse, 1 click, 2 click. And sometimes if you do it too quickly, it will not engage. It does have a very good backup camera with a couple of different options. This is the most annoying thing about the daily driving experience of this car. When you're in a parking lot and you're trying to reverse, it takes double the amount of time that it would take in a standard torque converter transmission. So here we go. Lotus quirks are very apparent here. It does have redeeming qualities though. This screen here is minimalist, and I love that about the Lotus Emira. You'll also notice our climate control guy is wearing a racing helmet, of course, and then just a few physical buttons down here to control your fan speed, your AC, your temperature, defrost, all that stuff. Drive modes are here, and same goes for the gauge cluster. It's minimalist, it's easy to use. There's not much to customize here in track. We do get the horizontal tack, which is pretty cool. Materials though, perfect. Stitching, perfect. If you had told anybody 20 years ago that you were going to daily drive a Lotus, they would have looked at you like you just got here yesterday. This was your first time around the sun. No one does that. But this is, especially with the upgraded KEF audio system, a car that, to a certain extent, for a Lotus, can eliminate the outside world when you want it to. No wireless charging. That is a miss. At low speeds, the dual clutch, for the most part, has really good manners. It is a little bit inconsistent though. I've had a couple of moments where it's almost like an organ that's being rejected by the body, where the gearbox will kind of have a couple hiccups and the car will almost lurch forward a little bit. Combine that with an engine that has a little bit of an unpleasant buzz sometimes at low speeds, especially when the gearbox is being inconsistent. Luckily, it doesn't drone. If you're in sport or in track, it does drone a little bit, but just keep it in tour on the street and you'll be fine. That's the car's way of telling me I should be in the canyons. That's how I'm translating that. Best part is though, the dual clutch makes getting ahead of traffic, light to light stuff, a little bit more seamless, a little bit quicker. It's just snappier to get around. The manual car has a heavy clutch. If you've got bad knees or you're getting old like I am, the manual is annoying to drive in traffic, straight up. Not that you couldn't do it, but it is a little bit fatiguing. This completely solves that problem. It's the biggest problem. Obviously, this solves. Now, on the freeway here, this rides really well for a Lotus. Compared to an Exige or an Elise, it's a luxury car in here, but it's still stiff. I would be comfortable driving this car around LA. I mean, I have for 1-2 hours, but anything more than that, and I'm just gotta stretch a little bit more. You have to put in a little bit more thought into how you're taking care of yourself. So the alignment in this car with the touring suspension is not quite as aggressive as the sport suspension car, but it still tugs around the freeway. The fact that this hydraulic power steering is so good and there's not much assist makes you feel everything up there. But then when you come down here, it doesn't go away. And when you're driving on the freeway with one hand on the wheel and you hit a bump that's unexpected, it kind of tugs you around a little bit. So you still have to be awake. You know, as some would say, you got to sleep with one eye open, right? And the Emira never quite turns off. I mean, throttle calibration's great. Lotus understands, how to tune a car for track driving or for spirited driving, and that goes with the inputs too. So the brake pedal, incredibly firm immediately. You give it like 1 millimeter of input and those pads are grabbing, which, as we'll find on the street, isn't necessarily the best thing out there, but up here driving hard, it's good. Okay, we're gonna try one more launch because that was so incredibly fun the first time. Wow. I've never felt a 400 horsepower car feel so quick and just not give two about any of the drivetrain components off the launch. It feels like it's almost gonna overpower the axles, the tires. This car's made me appreciate what Lotus has been able to accomplish with the Emira. It's a car that you could daily drive. It's a comfortable car, but it gives you a sense at low speeds that you're actually controlling something that's a little bit old school and a little bit unforgiving. So in that way, it reminds you, hey, if you're down in the city, if you're down in the street, dude, you should be up in the canyons. Let's go. Like, it kind of tells you that and it gives you hints of that even when you're driving slowly. A car that does everything in Lotus land here in 2025 is still a buckle down, raw, analog, dynamic experience, whatever word you want to use for it, right? It is still the most amount of feel I've experienced in a new car, period. And that's a win. It is a little bit too refined and daily drivable to be your weekend only car, but it's still a little bit too rebellious to replace your other 4-cylinder daily. In other words, just suck it up and buy the manual.